In today's video, I'm going to walk you through my day trading strategy for crypto. Now it's important to keep in mind that while I'm showing you this for cryptocurrencies, this strategy can work in any other market. I use the exact same strategies in the Forex market, I just change up the time frame a little bit because I like to trade Forex in longer term trades versus crypto in shorter term trades. You can use this exact same strategy in every single other market, so make sure you stay tuned, take some notes, and follow along. Now, before we get started, if you like this content and want to see more of it, please click the like button below and hit subscribe for future similar content. I'd really appreciate it. So let's dive right into the charts here. The only thing I've done ahead of time here is I've set up a watch list for myself. So personally, I trade all of the Bitcoin pairs that have high volume for the day. So I went through Binance and I checked all of these, and anything over 300 Bitcoin volume, I've put in my watch list over here, along with just the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum at the top of the watch list there. I do this because I like to keep my portfolio, my crypto portfolio, in Bitcoin because I really believe in the long-term success of Bitcoin. So my personal goal is to accumulate more Bitcoin. I don't really care too much what the price of Bitcoin is. I really just want to accumulate more over time. And I'm measuring my success based on how much more Bitcoin I can accumulate. If you want your portfolio to be in US dollars, you'll want to trade the US dollar pairs instead of the Bitcoin pairs. But anyways, that's enough talking for now. Let's get into the charts. So all I'm going to do is scroll down this watch list and try and find a crypto trade that looks good. I have a few different parameters that I look for, and I'll show you that now. You can see the first one here is Ethereum to Bitcoin. I almost always skip these major pairs where it's Ethereum to Bitcoin or Litecoin to Bitcoin, anything like that. These are slower moves percentage-wise than all the other altcoins, and so they're much harder to trade and gain value off of unless you're trading them leveraged, which I do not recommend for beginner traders, and unless you know what you're doing, you should avoid leverage. So I'm going to skip over Ethereum and go right to ETC BTC, or Ethereum Classic. This is kind of another major out there, and I like to avoid this one as well for the most part, but I'm just going to open up and take a quick look here. So I'm personally with crypto only trading long, as in I'm only buying it when I think the price is going to go upwards. So I'm not really looking for any short opportunities. I start off with my crypto charts on the 15-minute chart here, and then if I think there's not enough data, I'll pull out to the 30-minute or the 1 hour, as you'll see. So right away, the first thing I notice when I pull up this chart is that we've recently had a major spike upwards in ETC. Now in my crypto trading strategy here, I'm only buying things that are coming back down. Now I know I haven't showed you an example of that yet, but you'll see what I mean. I'm going to skip over ETC because things that are going straight upwards like this are not good to long. Next up, I have ADA open here, which is Cardano to Bitcoin. Now this has a similar note in that it went up right away, but we're starting to pull back downwards on this. I'm actually going to need to zoom out a little bit here because just by the glance of it here, it looks like we might be trending downwards, which would be a bad opportunity to take along. So let's just get a better look at this here. Pulling out to the 30-minute chart here and even the 1 hour chart, it definitely confirms that we're trending downwards. You can see we just keep putting in lower highs, lower lows, all the way downwards. Had a little attempted breakout here and then a new low, lower high, lower low, lower high. You see what I mean? We have spiked out of this pretty nicely. I'm actually going to pull out just one more time. This one is kind of an exception to what I normally will do, but I want to see why we bounced here and why we spiked up so much. Is there any significance? The first thing I'm going to do is look for major support and resistance zones, and the first one I can see is right in here where I've drawn this red line. You can see when we came down from this major move, it stopped right in this area, supported it for a while, tried to break out here, had resistance, and then once we tried to break out again, this resisted again. So this is a really strong line, and actually if you just look at our most recent price history in here, you can see we're rejecting that red line once again. And then just looking for any further support and resistance lines, it looks like something in here is not too bad. So we did have a little bit of support in this zone, resistance right through here, support on this wick right in here. We didn't quite come to it right there. So support and resistance really isn't giving me anything much to work with here about why we stopped here in Cardano. I'm just going to try fib retracements as well. So I'll pull one all the way from the bottom lows here to the top highs here. And even that's broken through the fib levels that I like to see. We didn't have much of a reaction at the 50 on this. We broke through this golden zone. We can try pulling this around a little bit, see if we can get any more significance on these levels here, but I'm really not seeing much on it. So I'm hesitant right away on Cardano. All I'm going to do now is just zoom back into the 15-minute chart, and I'm going to put one last fib retracement on this just from our low to our high. And if we do start to come down into this area, this golden zone, I do want to know about it. I might not take a trade. I might take a trade. It kind of depends on how it looks once we get down here. I'm just going to set an alarm right around this 820 level, about 1% higher than this zone. I would consider a buy. Next up, I have Bitcoin Cash up here, and you can see just like some of the other pairs, this has recently spiked up a ton. Before this, we're in a major downtrend. I'm not going to spend too much time on this chart. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Next up is EOS here, and a lot of the charts are seeming to look exactly the same. This does happen quite often, so sometimes you'll look at your charts, you'll go through a dozen pairs and find that all of the charts look exactly the same. There are no trades for you to take, and that's totally okay. You do not have to trade every day, and I'm extremely picky with my crypto trades. So even just zooming in on EOS here, I'm really not seeing anything I would trade off of. I'm going to go on to the next chart once again. Next up, I have XRP BTC, and again, similar story in that we've been downtrending for a while. We had this move off of it. It looks very much like ADA did. I'm going to zoom out on XRP here and see if any fib retracements make sense for why this would be our bottom. So just pull from the bottom to the top, and you can see we've broken through the golden zone. Definitely not a good sign for XRP. Just to throw in a quick little Elliott wave, I don't do this much in my day trading. I use very little Elliott wave when I'm just doing small trading predictions here, but this one is clear as day. This is about as clear as an ABC can get as of now. Of course, it could be setting up for a 1, 2, 3, 4, but this 4 would be so deep that it looks pretty unlikely. This ABC would just signify that we just had a retracement of our downtrend, and this was the move, and now we're moving back down as our trending direction. In other words, it would be predicting that our price is going to break these lows in here at 1900. I'm going to zoom in once more, just like I did with ADA, and I'm going to just put a fib pull on this one, bottom to the top, and look for this same golden zone again. I would want to see if we have any sort of reaction at the 50, and if we do, maybe I would look for a buy at that golden zone again, but for now, not much to shake here. On to our next one, TRX BTC. Zooming out on this, again, another crypto in a downtrend, although it seems to maybe be recovering as we had this low, this little high in here, and then we kind of double bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom to all in this area with all these lows through here. And now we're trying to put in new highs. Looks like we've just put in a double top in there. So let's just zoom in into our most recent price history. And the most obvious thing I would do on this is just throw a channel on here. So I would just parallel channel, top line here, bottom line here, and then connect our bottoms in there. Let's pull this sideways so we can make sure we include all of it. And you can see we're just trading in between these lines right now. So it's hard to get a sense of whether we're going to be trending upwards or downwards next. We would want to see a breakout of this channel. However, just like the other pairs, I'm going to do the exact same thing in here, pull a fib, bottom to top, and just watch this golden zone in this 50 once again. I'll put an alarm right about here this time because this move right here is only about 1 to 2% difference. So I'll keep an eye on that as well. Next up on my list is Litecoin to Bitcoin. And as I said, I don't really trade these major pairs unless there's something really, really obvious. I might take a trade with them. Just by looking at this first glance, this is not really obvious. It's downtrending. We've had a little spike up here, some spike action all through here. I'm going to move on to the next one quickly here. BNB, BTC, same story. I can consider this one of the larger pairs as well, and I try not to trade it. I'm not really seeing anything that would convince me otherwise in this one as well. If anything, it looks like we might be coming into a top right in this area where all of this resistance currently is. However, I can't take a short, and I wouldn't take a short on this pair, so I'm moving on to the next one. Unfortunately, Dash is another really large currency here, and again, I'm not really seeing anything good about this chart, just trending downwards for quite a while, a little bit of small movement in here, but nothing I can start to trade off of. I'm going to quickly move again. So once you look at enough of these charts and you go through 30 or 40 of these every single day, it's really only going to take you a few weeks or a few months to accumulate thousands of charts. But you can see that almost immediately I know whether or not I'm going to be even looking for a trade on a chart. And I do want to try and make it clear what those key things I'm looking for, because I know a lot of these I'm currently just skipping over. The market doesn't really look tradable right now. So some of the key things that I'm looking for when I first open a chart are what direction are we trending? Are we going up? Are we going down in the longer term? If it's downwards and it's been downwards for a while, there's no reason to bet against the trend. We're probably going to continue downwards. In the Forex market, when I see these downtrending markets, I might be looking for a short. However, I don't short the crypto market, I only spot trade it, and I don't have margin even opened on my account, so I'm only looking for longs. So if we're downtrending and it doesn't look like any sort of bullish movement is even starting on the chart, then I'm just going to go ahead and skip it overall. The other thing I'm looking for is, do we have any sort of recent bullish movement that's starting to retrace a little bit? Those are the kinds of purchases that I really like to buy. So for example, I just opened up Link here and we've moved pretty significantly off of the bottoms right here. If we just grab a percentage pull of it, you can see we've moved almost 50%, somewhere around the 45% range, which means this is definitely volatile enough for us to get into a trade and make some money off of it. These are the type of looks that right when I pull them up, it's something that I'm looking for a purchase into. Now, of course, if I just zoom out, you can see it's again a huge downtrend, and so I'm going to be very cautious with my trading and keep my stop loss tight. However, just like the other pairs, the main thing I'm looking for is that fib pull from the bottom to the top, and then I'm looking for when the price comes back down to this 50, I want to see a reaction right at this 50. So I want to see us come to this, bounce a little bit or a lot, but all I need is that small reaction to validate that this fib pull is actually in play, that people are trading based off of it. And then once we come down again, if we hopefully do, I would be buying at this golden zone right in here. My stop would be on the other side of this golden zone, and my first target would be new highs compared to the move that I'm pulling. So all the way up here, I'd be targeting this green negative 0.236 as well, and then continuing to pull my stop loss up as the trade goes on. One thing I really like to do is take off half my profits right at the distance that my stop loss would be. So if I entered right here and my stop loss is 1% lower, I like to take off half of my trade when I'm 1% in profit. That secures that I've locked in a little bit. If the other portion goes and hits my stop loss, I've hit break even on the trade overall. And if the other portion keeps going up, I still have a significant portion in the trade. So again with Link, there isn't anything to trade right now, but this is another one I want to keep an eye on, especially as we come down to this 50. So I'm going to put an alarm in here once again. Next up we have XTZ BTC. Again, I'm just going to pull this out to a 30-minute chart because I can't quite see enough data. Delete some past fib pulls I've got on here, and this is clearly just trending downwards really strongly right now. That's already urging me against a long, but let's zoom in, and you can see that the last kind of pop we had off the low here, we did move up a significant amount, but the retrace was almost fully back down. The bulls couldn't hold any of those fib levels that we'd be looking for on this push, and now we're slowly trending upwards again. I'm not really looking to trade this anytime soon. There's nothing good about this chart. We're just trending downwards. Maybe if we were to break this high in here and start to put in new highs over and over, then I'd be looking for a fib pull. So maybe if the chart were to look something like this, I'll go ahead and draw an example for you. We come up here, break this high in this area, and then we start to come back down, I would be making a fib pull from the all the way down bottom here to our top that we put in here, and then I'd be looking for those fib levels again. So I'd be looking for the 50 right in here, or the golden zone right in here, once this did happen. But for now, it's not a chart I can really trade. I'm just going to move on to the next one. Matic BTC. Let's zoom out once again, and you can see same exact thing. Unfortunately, the whole crypto market is just trending downwards really strong right now. I don't see anything with this. We've barely moved off of those lows in this recent push. I'm moving on to the next chart immediately. Aeon BTC, again, longer term picture, exactly the same on this one, trending downwards. Most recent move, pretty choppy upwards. I'm not really seeing any spike up and then slow retrace what I would want to buy. Moving on to the next chart again. IOTA BTC, same as all the other charts, huge trend downwards. We're trying to push off these lows, but we're really just going sideways in this range right here. Can't really break above this high that we put in right here, and then these lows just keep holding over and over. I'm not really seeing anything to trade here either. On to the next chart. ZEC BTC or Zcash, on the long term, same exact story. On the short term, same story as what IOTA looked like, and that we're really just trading downwards in here. We did get a nice spike up in here. However, every spike in the past couple of days here has just retraced almost immediately and almost completely, so I'm not really looking for much in here. One thing I will do with this one though is keep an eye on it. This is a pretty significant move, and we've seen these in the past that have retraced fully, so I'm just going to put a fib retracement on this whole move right here. It's a short move, just a couple of hours, but I want to see what happens when we come down to the 50 here. If we can come down to the 50, react, and then push down once more into this golden zone, it's a trade that I would definitely consider at that time. Okay, so XMR BTC, this is finally a chart that looks nothing like all the other ones. You can see on our zoomed out view here on the 15-minute chart, we've actually been uptrending in this chart for a while, which is awesome to see. Finally, a chart that doesn't look like all the other ones. Unfortunately, this uptrend is extremely choppy. It just seems like we're spiking up, pulling back down, spike, all the way back down, keep going over and over again. These are really hard markets to trade. When I take a look at this, I see a general trend upwards, so I would try to throw some parallel channels on it. Doesn't have to catch everything perfectly, but I just want to see if I can generally grab the direction we're going in. So it seems like maybe something like this captures most of these moves. Whenever we spike below the channel, we seem to immediately spike back up, as you can see in all of these spots right here. So I do like how this is holding the market. I'm not looking for a trade in this yet, but it's something I'll definitely keep my eye on. If we can continue up to the top of this trend line, I might pull a fib from the bottom here to say the top up there, and then look for a buy somewhere in this zone once again. But for now, there's nothing to act on here. Waves BTC, I see the same thing here as most of the other pairs, a huge downtrend. We're slowly moving upwards. I'm going to move on to the next one. There's not much to trade here. XLM BTC, this looks like a couple of the other ones that I have alarms set for, and that we've been downtrending for a while, but we did have this nice move upwards. And again, this Elliott wave is really clear to me, so I put it on the chart. I see this very clearly as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a really good sign that we're going to start to push upwards more. I'm looking for a retracement of this whole move. I'm going to put a fib retrace on it right now, and you can see we're really close to that 50. We did react about 1 sat off of it, so I would consider this almost certainly a reaction at this 50, probably a front run. This is a pretty good sign. I'm going to set an alarm on this one, and I would probably end up buying this in this zone in here. So just to show you what that trade would look like, because unfortunately there haven't been many good setups, if the price comes down to about 673 in here, I'm going to be watching it. I'll enter the trade there. I'll set my stop loss somewhere below where a good support and resistance zone is. So if I just take a look at where I think that might be, right in about here, this was a good support and then a good resistance for a one wave right here. I would set it just below that. So right in there would be my stop. And you can see that's actually a really tight stop loss percentage wise, just 1.19%, which I love to see as well. And then again, I'd be targeting new highs with this. So all the way up here, and I'd be targeting this negative 0.236 as my first target. It gives me a risk reward ratio of over 6 to 1. It's a really good trade setup. And because the percentage is so low on this, I would be entering this with actually my entire Bitcoin portfolio. So I'd enter all of my Bitcoin into this trade. If the stop hits, I already have it set up as soon as I enter. No emotions are necessary. No matter what, once the price hits here, I'm stopping out. I'm losing just 1% of my entire portfolio. Absolutely no big deal. The second thing I would set up immediately is I'd take this distance from my stop loss, which is 8 sats in here, put it on the other side, right in here, and I'd set my first sell order right in here to sell half of my trade at that 1%. Then if we come up from my trade immediately, hit the sell, come down to my stop loss, I'm break even on the trade. And if we keep going up, this would be my next target. So once we start to come up and break these highs, I'm mostly just moving my stop loss up below key support and resistance zones or below key fib retracements. So let's just chart out what this might look like overall. Let's say we're coming up right here. We end up coming down right to this 618. My entry fills. We come up to here, hit my first sell, start to pull back down. No worries. I don't care if I end up stopping out on this. It's a free trade for me at this point. But luckily, we keep going up. Let's say we come up all the way to here next. We start to pull back down, and then we continue upwards even more, all the way up to, let's say, here. So I'll show you what my stop loss would look like on this. As soon as we come to here, my sell hits as I spoke, pull back down. My stop hasn't moved at all. I still like it in this spot. As soon as we break this high, this first high that we put in, I'd be moving my original stop loss, this one right here, up just below this zone that we had. So it was resistance. I'd be using it as support on the way back down, and now my stop is just below it. And as we move upwards here, I'd be looking to keep increasing that up over and over again. So as you can see, maybe somewhere in this zone would be a really good support and resistance. So once we come all the way up here, my stop would be just below this, inside of here. We pull back down, and then once we start to break this, now I'm moving my stop up once again, just below this support and resistance zone, and now my stop's all the way up here. And you can see how this continues to transfer on and on as the play continues. Again, this is all hypothetical price action movement, but I see this kind of movement very often, and I'm always adjusting my stop loss to lock in more and more profit as it moves upwards. Let's go ahead and move on to the next chart here, BTG, BTC. Zooming out on this one, huge downtrend, small spike up here with another small spike coming in now. I'd be looking for maybe a buy if we were to break these lows. For now, I don't really see much. I'm not going to buy off of this move somewhere in here. It's too short of a move. So let's just move on to the next chart. Next up, Pearl BTC. Same story on the long-term chart here. On the zoomed in chart, we do have a decent move up here from about 180 to about 220. So pulling a percentage pull of that just so we can get an idea. It's about 20% or so. So not the largest move in the world, but something we can definitely trade off of. I'll use a fib pull once again of this full move and just set an alarm if we start to break this low. After that, I want to see what happens from there. And now onto the very last chart, BAT BTC. Again, on the long term, same exact story here. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and nothing to trade off of here. Had a little bit of a move, broke down below all supports here, trying to push back up, and now we're kind of just struggling. So if you made it this far in this video, you're seeing that there really aren't that many trade setups that I'm looking at right now in crypto, and that's totally okay. There are weeks when I take only 1 or 2 trades, and weeks where I'm taking multiple trades every single day. It really depends on how the market is, and I'm only looking for those best trades that fit all of my qualifications of an uptrending market, of a really good support and resistance zone, of a really good Fibonacci retracement, and that is where I'm entering. There's no reason to enter trades where you're not fitting the qualifications of your entry. I'd rather just protect my capital and save it for another future trade. So even though we couldn't enter any trades today, I hope this helps you get some insight into what you can look for and how you can adjust your strategy and be patient with your entries. If you like this content and want to see more similar content, let me know in the comments below. I want to produce content that you guys like, and so without your feedback, that's really difficult to know. And as always, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and subscribing for future similar content, that would mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. So I hope this helps you, and good luck trading.